Hey everyone, I'm Diana Davison, advocate for the falsely accused and wrongfully convicted. Now, what we've learned this week in the news is that it takes a couple of hours for the media to destroy a man's career, his life's work, smear his name, and completely ostracize him. Then he's designated to the trash heap, and people are annoyed when you're still trying to present evidence that he's innocent. As Jonathan Swift said, falsehood flies, and the truth comes limping after it. Of course, we're meant to trust journalists when they say they did an investigation, even when we can see that they didn't. And we're meant to trust that they are neutral, objective reports, even when we can see that the journalist was good friends with her source. Now, Simon Haupt in the Globe and Mail had a very interesting and apt choice of analogy about reporters being too close to their sources. The line separating them is like the oft-quoted distinction between erotica and pornography. We know it when we see it, but by then it's often too late. Yes, it's too late. Too late for Albert Schultz. Too late for Patrick Brown. In fact, it's too late for anyone to even care about all the breaches of ethics that are destroying lives. Because, the news cycle has moved on. And for journalists, every new hit piece is like erotica, or maybe porn. Thank you, Mr. Haupt, for what I would call a rare moment of self-reflection. So, erotica and pornography. That's what these stories gleefully destroying a man overnight have come down to. Caitlin Flanagan in The Atlantic referred to sexual misconduct accusations against Aziz Ansari as revenge porn, and that's exactly what this is. So how do we, the public, determine whether a story published by Rachel Aiello on CTV or anyone else was erotica for her, or if it was full-blown pornography? Most certainly, it's masturbatory.
If you fucking, then you probably fucking.
First of all, Aiello and her source, Chelsea Nash, are most certainly friends. Yet, CTV has since denied that.
Strongly suspect you might be fucking.
Now, that's even more concerning. Not only did they violate journalistic ethics, they then lied to the public about it. And keep in mind, they could have had Aiello hand off the story without a byline, just internal credit, and completely bypassed that pornographic relationship problem. We're meant to trust the CTV that they would never do that, even after they've tried to hide the truth in carefully worded legal language. And CTV also interviews two little mall rats to bolster what they know is a threadbare story. Victoria Del Rey tells the world that she knows a bunch of friends who told her about stuff and she trusts them.
And it was multiple girls and I trusted them
Newsflash, that's nothing but gossip. You can't trash a man's life and damage a provincial election with hearsay. I don't care what her friends did or didn't tell her, she's not a legitimate source. Her blog tells us that she's borderline personality with anxiety and depression problems. And that's just the good stuff, the stuff she puts on her dating profile. They also interview someone named Maia Brown, no relation to Patrick, who says Patrick asked her more than once to come sit with him at a bar. Maia and Victoria, well, they happen to be very good friends as well. These are the sources that CTV thinks verify their story. What is their story? They say they verified on social media that Patrick Brown sent Chelsea Nash a Facebook message a few hours after they shared a flight together, but they didn't. They verified the time that the message was sent, not that they'd shared a flight that day. In fact, a quick search shows that Patrick was appearing at events all day before the message was sent. A few hours before the message, he was at the local library. Yes, what a horrible creep. Spending time at public libraries. And to be honest, look at Patrick Brown. He looks like someone you'd meet at a library. Next, we're told he's a creep because he doesn't drink. Well, that's the opposite of the usual political problem, isn't it? Next, we're told that a girl in the bar was drinking underage. Isn't that a bouncer problem? In fact, as this story got discussed further, it started to sound like tons of underage women were scattered throughout the bars of Barrie. I think Barrie needs to investigate if there's a fake ID problem in their city. Now, CTV also shows us a blurred image, seemingly of Chelsea Nash taking a selfie with Patrick in his home. She looks pretty comfortable, throwing her arm around him, uploading it to her Facebook to brag about what good friends they are. She looks pretty confident. In fact, one of Nash's blog posts, called My Feminism, she tells us that she grew up rather feisty, mouthing off to all the boys at school and never letting them define her. Yet CTV, with all their non-existent research, wants us to believe that Nash was investigated and her accusation deemed highly credible.
If you're fucking, then you're probably fucking.
At what point does this get bad enough to launch an ethics investigation into CTV? I don't think we need Mr. Simon Help to tell us if this news report was pornography or just erotica.
Hey, definitely fucking.
Breaking news. The mainstream media is now officially fucking with us. So, on to some other media masturbation. Does anyone remember Albert Schultz? I'd be shocked if you do. He's the former artistic director, former heart and soul of Canada's only multi-million-dollar non-profit theatre company, Soul Pepper. Of course, Albert's just old news now. Why bother talking about Albert Schultz anymore? He was destroyed in a day. His wife destroyed the next day. And now he's being sued for millions by a bunch of, from what I can determine, lying frauds. Here's one of them. Meet Diana Bentley. This is footage from a promotional video shot within a year of her last Soul Pepper gig. Bentley claims that she was slapped on the rear end during a show by Albert Schultz, and despite launching a production of her own play called Deuce about a month later, quickly followed by her own theater company called Rogue Theater, this is her claim for damages from Albert Schultz. Because of the defendant's tortious actions, that would be the bottom slapping, Diana has experienced and continues to experience significant pain and suffering, including A. Psychological distress at the time of battery. B. Feelings of guilt, worthlessness, shame, and self-blame. C. Social isolation. Now remember, this is Miss Bentley on screen right now, shortly after the butt-slapping event. D. Intrusive and recurring thoughts. Flashbacks and nightmares relating to the incidents. Oh, that horrible butt-slapping. Feelings of dread and anxiety. F. Trust issues with males and issues with males generally, including but not limited to males in position of authority. Well, there's significant evidence that this was a problem for Miss Bentley before she met Mr. Schultz. G. Hypervigilance and defensiveness with male colleagues. Well, actually no, she married a male colleague, another co-founder of Soul Pepper. Nobody at the press conference bothered to ask Ted Dykstra about that part. And H. Trust issues and intimacy issues. G. All that from having a slap on the bum. And CBC told us they investigated the allegations. There's a very good reason they came up half a show short on material for the Fifth Estate. And yet, Albert Schultz, he's old news now. We're not supposed to care, because journalists are too busy digging up new pornography to publish. And those of you who are guilty of reading and believing should know the journalists are just having a good wank.
How many licks does it take to get satisfied? So many questions, I'm just hoping on your quick reply.